Hey, what's up guys? Nick with Velox Training Group, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about my rifle slings, how I have them set up and why. I've ran 2-point slings, 1-point slings in pretty much every single kind of configuration. And what I've found, guys, is I always come back to my 2-point sling being attached at the furthest ends of the gun, right? Why do I do that? Well, when it's attached to the furthest ends of the gun, the sling essentially has the most control over the gun when you sling it. Think about your sling kind of like you would a holster for a pistol, okay? You wouldn't have a holster that if you had the gun in there, it would flop around and point at things, right? We wouldn't accept that for a holster, right? When we holster a pistol, we want the pistol pointed typically straight down, and it needs to be locked in there. So same thing with a sling for me, right? So with it attached at the furthest ends, whether I sling the gun straight down like that, or whether I turn it inboard like I usually do, the gun stays pointed down and it doesn't flop around a whole lot, okay? Now, when you take the back of the sling and attach it at the receiver, okay, and then have the front of the sling at the furthest end, what I have found is, yes, it may give you a little bit more mobility when you're moving the stock around like that, but one of the biggest cons for me is when I sling the rifle, and since the sling is no longer trapping the buttstock, whether you sling it like this or like this, the buttstock sticks out, okay? And then when I go to do a pistol transition, I end up whacking the buttstock with the pistol, so I don't dig that. If you take the front of the sling and attach it to the closest part of the receiver like that, what I've found is on my reloads, I'll come up for a fast reload, hit the bolt release, and then the web of my hand gets hung up on the sling trying to get back to the rail for a follow-up shot if I need to do that. So I don't dig that. You know, if you have the back of the sling here at the closest part of the receiver, and then the front of the sling at the closest part of the receiver, again, you have that part where you can catch the web of your hand coming off a reload, and now you've really given up a ton of retention on the gun, because now both ends are able to move around. I found that when I ran it like that, and when I go to sling the gun, the gun wants to turn sideways. It's kind of a no-go for me. So I always come back to the sling being at the furthest ends, and it's really helped, you know, all those problems that I have with you know, running the sling at different attachment points, right? Furthest ends for me is always the best. It doesn't mess with my mobility of the rifle, okay? As long as I do things correctly, right? So I've just learned how to work with a 2-point sling being attached at both sides, right? If you come over the shoulder like this to move the muzzle, you know, around a barricade or whatever, and you have the stock way out here, it can fall over your back, and then when you go to push out, then you're stuck in it, right? So what I do now is, if I'm gonna go around a barrel or a barricade, I just keep it close to my face, and that way the sling doesn't fall over my back and I get hung up in it, right? So I've essentially just learned how to work with the 2-point sling attached at the furthest ends, and in my opinion, it's pretty much the best way to go. Again, this is just my opinion. If you disagree, that's cool too. Just kind of my thoughts on 2-point slings and why I run them the way I run them.